Hello everyone, my name is Jorge Diaz, President and Founder of Larry Jacob Internet Marketing and an Infusionsoft Certified Consultant. I'm bringing you another episode of Defining Infusionsoft Success. This week my guest is Bill Jenkins. He is the founder of the company that builds TurboDial. Did I say that right, Bill?
TurboDial. Yeah, TurboDial.
I was looking up turbodialer.com, and of course that didn't find it, and eventually I found turbodial.biz. And that's how we can connect to him. But I met Bill at Icon back in March. Him and his team had a booth. They were runner-ups for the Battle of the Apps. I'm sorry, they were finalists and ended up being runner-ups for Battle of the Apps. So they have a TurboDial application. And then interestingly enough, about 3 weeks after Icon, I went into a new client installation. They have a call center set up. And lo and behold, they've got TurboDial, which I had never used before. But now I go, hey, I know the guy who owns that company. So if anything happens, I can call him. And they've been really happy. So I'm really happy to have him here as my guest, because not only is he a guest, he also supports one of my customers and me when I'm trying to get them to do things. So Bill, welcome.
Thank you, George. Appreciate it. Good to be here today.
Good. So I'd like to kind of start off with, this is kind of how we work with a lot of other of my guests. Tell us a little bit about your business. How did you get into this? Because I'm sure you didn't just wake up one morning and say, hey, I ought to build this TurboDial thing.
Sure. No, I didn't. In fact, that is not.
Yeah. We'll just, have at it. Tell us a little bit how you got into this.
Sure. No, it's definitely true. I did not just wake up one morning and decide to build TurboDial. I was am still an Infusionsoft certified partner and was doing consulting with Infusionsoft for a while, for a few years. And as part of that, I built, for my own benefit, an integration between TimeTrade, which is an online appointment setting system, and Infusionsoft. And I was showing that to someone at Infusionsoft one day, and they said, hey, why don't you put that in the marketplace? And this has been a few years ago now. And I did, and that app is actually called TimeFusion. So that was my introduction.
Okay, so TimeFusion, is that still available on the marketplace, or is that still
it
working?
That is still available on the marketplace. It has a fair number of customers, people who come into Infusionsoft. This is the typical customer, someone who comes into Infusionsoft already having used TimeTrade for many years, because TimeTrade is like the granddaddy of them all. It's been around forever. And they don't want to give that up. And so they're looking for some way to make them work together, and that's the purpose of TimeFusion, is to make...
By the way, I'm glad you mentioned that, because that comes up for me often enough, and I didn't know there was an integration. So, note to self, TimeTrade integration, there is a solution for Infusionsoft. Cool.
Yeah, so one of my consulting clients who was using TimeFusion and also my consulting services just one day said, you know what, Bill, I really need a dialer. And he listed off a set of things that he couldn't find a solution for to work in his, Infusionsoft installation. And he asked me, could you go build that? And, since he knew I had a little bit of expertise building apps. And believe me, building a dialer is a much more significant undertaking than building, the TimeFusion integration.
Sure.
So I didn't jump right into that, but after a few months of thinking about it, I decided to go do it. And after, several months later, I was able to introduce TurboDial in late 2014.
So how long has it been available?
Since about November of 2014, so about 18 months now.
Okay. So that's why it made it into this year's Battle of the Apps, because it had been out from the year before. You probably introduced it too late for the previous one, but cool. I guess that also gave you a chance to kind of get it out there, get some users banging on it.
Well, sure. Plus, it evolved so quickly that it probably would qualify every year for Battle of the Apps, since it's so much different from one year to the next. As features get added.
Sure. So let me ask you. So describe to me, a couple of scenarios. When is it that someone can put something like TurboDial to work?
So, if you're in the Infusionsoft world, you know a lot about, you're aware of email marketing for sure, right? Email marketing is a core capability of Infusionsoft. Yet there are a lot of Infusionsoft customers who not only use email marketing, but they really also have to get on the phone in order to move the sale along or to close a deal, all right? And It's because maybe the ticket price for their solution, their product or their service is a higher ticket price, and so email marketing all by itself doesn't get someone over the hump to buy, right? So that would be a typical scenario, or a more complicated sale, and so that's the inside sales scenario where you got to use the phone, to win sales. And there's a lot of Infusionsoft customers that are just exactly in that spot, and so that's where that's who TurboDial is for. People that have to get on the phone, text messaging, voice calls, in order to win the deal.
Right, and I know that like the customer that we use, they have I want to say it's like depending upon, they have some people in and out, but it's like 12 to 20 inside sales folks. There are a couple are in Miami here where I live, and they have a couple out in Las Vegas. But they all, they get lists of people that go to their website, sign up, and then they've got to get out to those people as quickly as possible because it's a very competitive business. I really don't want to mention too much about what they do.
Sure.
So it's first to get to that lead is the one that's most likely to win it. And so their job is how many dials can I have, and nobody wants to sit there and hit the phone dialer over and over again if they can help it.
That's right. Yeah, and that's what you just described actually is a common scenario for several industries. Real estate is an example of that, where, if someone fills out a lead form on your website, you better get in touch with them right now because you know that prospect is moving right on to the next website and going to submit a lead form there. So the first one to get a hold of them wins, right? And so that's why solutions like TurboDial are helpful.
Yeah, and for example, I have another customer, and they get a lot of leads for people that are doing international moves. So they move people to and from the United States. And so people will go to 3 websites, and say, I'm moving. And then boom, the phone calls start coming in, and sometimes emails and whatever. I know in that industry, it's the first person to reach them and develop that tie that differentiates from the fact that I'm not sure which website I went to. So that makes sense.
Right. There is actually several features built into TurboDial that actually target that need. The most popular, the most common one is called hot lead calls. You can actually set up your Infusionsoft account such that when someone fills out a lead form like that, in that scenario we just talked about here, they fill out a lead form and they submit it on your website, your Infusionsoft campaign can immediately then trigger, using TurboDial, a phone call to come to your designated sales agent. They'll get the phone call, TurboDial will explain to them in voice what just happened and give them the option to go ahead and make the call right into that lead. So when the agent presses the 1 key on their phone, the call will then proceed and right and connect up with that lead. Now within a couple minutes of that lead filling out the web form, the agent's on the phone with them.
So it's not a warm transfer, it's a come to my phone, dial out?
That's right. So the agent receives a phone call. The agent might be at lunch or maybe at home after dinner, right? Gets the phone call on their phone. They can see from the caller ID that this is a hot lead. The interested in buying a house form, for example, and press the 1 key, and now they'll be connected right through, and they're talking to the phone on the phone with them. So that's an example of
closing. So I'm getting a lead that was initiated by someone filling out a form on a website.
Right.
Nice.
That's right. So, that's just the one feature of TurboDial that helps speak to that need that you mentioned.
Wow, and again, that's not a feature that we're using on that account. I'll keep that in mind. That's interesting.
You should, yeah.
So, gosh, now the geek in me is kind of thinking here. So, I've got a campaign. What is it? That campaign, I guess, does what, an HTTP post over to TurboDial to wake it up and have it do something?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. HTTP post to TurboDial. TurboDial, it's something you've already configured in TurboDial, and TurboDial will make a call out to your guy, your gal, your agent.
Yeah, whoever's on. And it can be a round robin, I'm assuming, right? So that the next person, the first person to pick it up, or it's randomly distributed among a certain group of people?
Multiple different ways of actually sending that call out. That's right. But then the point is you get one of your agents on the phone that says, yes, I can take this call and we'll, and talk to this lead.
Right.
And now that call goes right through over to the lead. And since it's only been a matter of seconds, a couple of minutes since the lead filled out the form, chances are they're ready to take a call, right? It's not like they left.
Or like really surprised that someone got to them so quickly, right?
Pleasantly surprised often, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. You know,
Yeah.
I'm going to be there Tuesday to talk to these guys. I go, by the way, do you know that there's this feature that you
Yeah.
guys can use? Because that would really bypass a couple of steps that I think they take.
Sure.
So then when I get that phone call, is it kind of like mouthing me what, hey, Fred Flintstone had, this, and he filled out that form?
Yes, exactly. It's going to be a text-to-speech voice that actually sounds pretty natural. But it'll read, the name of the person who filled out the form, and it'll also tell you which form, depending upon how you configure it.
Right.
It's all up to you. And even then, give the salesperson encouragement to go ahead and make this call.
Yeah,
right?
and I guess it could also text them some data too, right? So that it's
could.
like, let me just take the text before I take the call, boom, and it goes.
Capabilities with TurboDial you can set up, yeah.
Nice. Okay.
So it's not just a dialer, right? It's not just a passive, sitting at your computer making phone calls. There's other ways that you can use TurboDial to move the sale process ahead.
Right. Okay. So I mean, that's like the whiz bang feature. I like that. But so just kind of describe to people. I mean, I've used it, but what do I typically see if I'm I have a list of here's like a list of either opportunities or a list of contacts that I think I need to call. What are they going to see?
Well, there's a couple of different ways that people approach it. A common way is using TurboDial right inside Infusionsoft. That's one of the kind of uniquenesses of TurboDial is it deeply integrates and works right within Infusionsoft. And when you set up TurboDial in your Infusionsoft account, you actually get a little green TurboDial button on every contact record.
It's like a little splat, right?
It's like the star key on your telephone keypad.
Right.
That's where it comes from. It's on every contact record and on every opportunity record. And then when you're in Infusionsoft, if you see, you're looking at a saved search listing, let's say, or you're looking at an opportunity and you decided you need to make a call out for this contact, you just click that green button. That focuses TurboDial onto that contact. You hit the call button on TurboDial, and off you go. And you're starting a phone conversation with that.
No, right. So it rings your phone first, and then when you pick up, boom, it starts dialing out to whoever you want to call, right?
Well, that's one scenario. The other scenario is actually using the soft phone in your PC.
Oh, right, of course.
Using the headset. In which case, it doesn't ring your phone; it just immediately starts dialing out to the contact you're calling.
Yeah, these guys use. They're kind of in a call center, but that seemed to me like it would be a little smoother because you don't have that double.
It is.
As long as you have the quality over your network and stuff to handle that many phone calls.
Yeah, although we have some features in TurboDial that does make the phone device calling smoother also and much more quick. But probably about over half of the calls with TurboDial are placed where people are originating the phone call from their phone, their cell phone, or their desk phone.
Right.
And the other roughly half are people using a headset like this, calling from their PC.
Cool. So tell us a little bit more about other things.
Sure.
Where else might people use this?
So that was one scenario where you're actually using, you're working in Infusionsoft, and you see the green button, and you can click on a contact and make a call to them. The other scenario is you actually have like a saved search listing in Infusionsoft. You can actually import that just with a click of a button right into your TurboDial app. And we don't have pictures here, but if you go to turbodial.biz, you can see a little video there that gives you a demo that will help you see this. But TurboDial sits on your screen right next to Infusionsoft, and it takes a smaller footprint on your computer screen, so it allows them to sit side by side, okay? And when you import that list over to TurboDial, now you can just do all of your navigating of your list right inside of TurboDial, and now you can start moving from one contact to the next much more quickly as you're making your calls for the day. So that's another way you can go about using TurboDial is by importing your list right into TurboDial, okay? Now, after each call, with TurboDial, you have some tools for leaving some disposition about what happened on that call, and that's really important to tracking what's going on with your calling campaigns and leaving records about each of these interactions with the customers and the prospects that you're calling. And one of those tools is called the call outcome. where you get to set up the custom set of call outcomes for your business. Every business is different. Everybody has their own set of call outcomes that are unique to their sales process. And you set those up, and when you leave a call outcome, you can even have that trigger automation inside Infusionsoft again. So let's say, just for the purpose of an example, let's say that one of your call outcomes is that the prospect is interested, but they want more information. You leave that call outcome at the end of the call, you could have your Infusionsoft campaign trigger and automatically send off, a package of additional information, about your offer.
Yeah, I know one of the things that we're doing is when people get to the end of the call, if they left a message, they mark it as such, so that kicks off a campaign that sets a note. Although TurboDial does a really good job of adding notes to the contact record so you know what happened. But we set it up so that then that also sends them an email, so that the email says, hey, by the way, I tried to call you, I left a message, please get back to me as soon as you can.
Yes.
But the guy doesn't have to sit there and just type another email or bring up Outlook or whatever they're using. So that's pretty handy.
Yeah, that automation is one of the most popular features, to be able to just allow your calling agent to quickly dispose the call at the end, but then have automation take over and handle all of the follow-up and the adjustment of the lists and the tags and things like that you want to have happen, so that it unburdens the agent from having to do that work. It also unburdens you from having to train the agent on how to do all that work.
Yeah, so people do things very consistently because there are notes that are added automatically.
Right.
I mean, for us, it's also making sure that, the email that's sent, we're using a best practice email versus, like in this case, everybody had their own set of emails that they had kind of saved. And this way, the manager, the person managing the space can say, okay, this is the one we send when we leave a message. This is the one that we send follow-up information. This is what in their case, they have to send out an application. So it's the same application one, and every agent does it the same way. Again, great for training, so they bring people on, and it's just a matter of teaching them which tag to apply or which call out to call.
That's right. And now as you learn how to improve your sales process, you can go inside of your Infusionsoft campaigns and improve those emails or adjust how you send those emails or other types of follow-up.
Yeah, even texts.
Without even training, so you didn't have to change the process that your salespeople follow at all, and you're still making improvements to the sales process from the Infusionsoft side.
Very good. Very good. So is there anything you got coming that might be interesting to kind of mention, or is something that's not totally top secret?
Well, yes, we're building out on some of the more advanced features for TurboDial. A few months ago, we rolled out enhanced inbound, which allows companies and users to get more sophisticated about taking inbound calls through TurboDial and getting screen pops that do Infusionsoft lookups of the caller and display that information. And now we are actually in the final stages of developing, and we have several beta testers using a new feature set called enhanced call handling. And with enhanced call handling, you'll be able to put calls on hold and take them back off hold, and you'll be able to do warm transfers from one of your agents to another one. And this is, for example, some of our beta users are using it just like this. They've got their first tier of agents that are making the dials, and then when they get a lead that actually looks like a good lead, they transfer them using these TurboDial features over to a closer. Right?
Gotcha.
That can then complete all, get all the questions answered well and get that deal closed. Right? So that's a typical scenario there.
Yeah. So you got people just doing a lot of cold calling-ish sort of activities, and by the time it gets over to the closer, you can efficiently use those resources. Nice.
Right. Yeah. So that'll be coming out within a couple months.
Very good. Well, hey, Bill, thank you so much for sharing all this great information with you. How can people reach you?
So a couple ways. First of all, we are in the marketplace at the Infusionsoft marketplace under the apps called TurboDial.
Right.
And that's a good place to start, but you definitely want to go over to the website, turbodial.biz, and that's where there's more in-depth information about features and the pricing, and you can see full details about TurboDial. And if you have any questions We'd love to hear from you. Support@turbodial.biz is the way to get a question into us. And if you're thinking about TurboDial in your business, just send us an email, and we're happy to reply or get on the phone with you and get your questions answered.
Yeah, and I tell you what, I had to rely on support.turbodial.biz, and I was pleasantly surprised when it was actually Bill answering a few of those.
Yeah.
And they were just a huge support because we had just some interesting issues happening because the account I took over just didn't have experience using either Infusionsoft or TurboDial, and they were just super at supporting us doing that.
Good, glad it worked out.
Yeah. So, well, Bill, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, and
Sure.
we'll stay in touch.
George, good talking to you today. Thanks.